All right. Thanks to Jessica Angel and the Art Project 2020 Expo presenter, the Vancouver Biennale. My name is Dan Forbes. I'm a developer advocate with Parity Technologies, and I'm here to moderate this panel discussion on an NFT strategy for the Kusama Network. And I'd like to kick things off just by kind of like introducing myself and talking a little bit about what Kusama Network is to kind of help you understand the discussion today. So as I mentioned, my role with Parity Technologies is developer advocate. I am a software engineer, but before getting my computer science degree, I went to cooking school. So I'm kind of a software engineer that loves helping other people. I come at it from a very like customer service point of view. And about a year ago, I was lucky enough to land a job, switching from a real software engineer to a developer advocate in the blockchain space. And so to me, what that means is I help make it easy for other people, sometimes other developers, but a lot of times other people who aren't developers, to understand the types of technologies that Parity produces and make it easy for them to work with them. So in particular, Parity makes blockchain infrastructure. Our lineage kind of comes from the Ethereum ecosystem, which many of you may be familiar with. But nowadays, most of our focus is on what's called the Polkadot Network, which is a blockchain, but beyond that, it actually describes a blockchain protocol. Everything that we do is, of course, open source. And so the Polkadot Network is an implementation of the Polkadot protocol, which defines a type of scalable, upgradable blockchain network that doesn't just focus on the technical components of scalability, but really on kind of the people aspects of scalability and what's required to make systems such as this scale over time. And this really happens through this idea of governance and decentralized governance. And one of the places where we experiment with these ideas of decentralized governance is the Kusama Network, which is another blockchain, which I would say implements the Polkadot protocol, but with a goal of being much more innovative and experimental. And so one of the things that we're experimenting with is this idea of an art gallery as a governance body, and what that means and how that governance body, that decentralized governance body, may interact with creators and artists. And I've had the opportunity to work with these amazing people in this effort. And so that's a little bit about me, about myself. I'm hailing from Southern California today, and I think we have a really interesting, diverse group of people. So I'd love for everyone else to kind of talk a little bit about your background with respect to this project, and also tell us where you're from. So Alex, can you kick it off?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Alex. I'm a managing partner at UseTech, which is a software development company. We do a lot of blockchain work, and since beginning of last year, we're doing a lot of blockchain work on Polkadot in particular. And we have, since beginning of this year, we have built a lot of infrastructure components for NFTs on Kusama and Polkadot networks. And I'm here in that capacity. I am leading the team that will be implementing the Kusama Art Gallery. And I am running the team that created Unique Network, which is the NFT chain for Kusama Network. And it has basically a lot of interesting things in the NFT space that we're going to talk about today.
And where are you joining from today, Alex?
I'm in Moscow, Russia. It's past midnight here, so it's Saturday night fever for me.
All right. What about you, Shaban? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, hi. Shaban Shame. I'm the founder of the company called Everdream Softs, based in Geneva, Switzerland. We are working with, I would say, art and collectible on blockchain since 2015, 14, 15, back when it was Bitcoin only. And we built a game called Spells of Genesis, which is still live today. So we started on Counterparty, which is a protocol on top of Bitcoin. Then the game recently entered Ethereum blockchain. And more recently, we work on NFT in general for blockchain. And we are focusing our efforts on Kusama NFT because we want to bring the multiplicity of vision of blockchain in an artistic way to Kusama, as there are potential to really build diverse technical implementation for creator, artists, or game developers.
Awesome. I love it. And last but not least, Jam, please tell us about yourself.
Hey, I'm Jam or Joshua Amir. I go by Jam because Joshua is quite a common name, and you probably have another Joshua in your life, but you don't have another Jam. I'm based in Berlin, where Parady's based, actually. I'm a recent alumni of Parody. I would describe myself as like a crypto native kid, where like I kind of grew up with this space as the space like developed over time. I'm here as like a member of the Kusama Council, which is an elected body of individuals, companies who help make decisions on Kusama. Primarily about like where treasury funding goes. There's another talk earlier in this event by Jessica and Raul about the voxel bridge, where you can get a lot of information about like how the treasury works and how to interact with Kusama. But we might also get into that a little bit here as well.
Yeah, I think we're actually about to get into it like right now.
Right.
I want to start with you. First question is for you, Jam. As someone who does sit on the Kusama Council and has really been a part of the network and everything since its founding, can you tell us a little bit more about it from your point of view, and maybe start to dive in a little bit to the components of the art gallery strategy that I mentioned?
Sure. So Kusama started out as kind of a testing ground for things that were meant to go into Polkadot, or things that needed a lower stake environment than Polkadot, but still needed like real value to like test the assumptions that you make, where like and gradually over time, I think the story of Kusama evolved into like a place for experimentation, a place for creatives, and a place for creating things that like wouldn't necessarily make sense, just to find out if they will make sense. And I feel like the NFT strategy that we're coming up with is kind of like, how are we going to make NFTs part of Kusama and Polkadot in the long term? So the NFT strategy, I think, is something that we devise as like a 3-stage plan on how to make NFTs viable on Kusama. And it starts with 1, we need to like make it really usable, which is what Shaban is focused on. Like he's making a great set of libraries and front ends potentially to interact with NFTs in Kusama and the greater Polkadot ecosystem. And then secondly, we need to have that information like about NFTs stored and like allow creators to transfer NFTs the way you're used to and interact with them. And that's like something that'll be on chain on Kusama, and something that's also going to be available using something called RMRK.app, which is something created by Bruno, who isn't here today, but there are a lot of people working on this that aren't here. And then the third part, which is like, how do we take these NFTs? How do we take what people create and let them realize something for their work, right? Let them like get some value out of it. And that comes in forms of like a gallery, marketplaces. And Alex has been doing a lot of work on that, along with like the on-chain stuff. And I feel like in the longer term, what Kusama is going to allow is that we're going to be able to do things that look like less traditional than a marketplace or a gallery. But this is the first 3 steps to getting there. Like first, we need that foundation of like having something to build on, and then we'll have more crazy experiments, things that we can't imagine today, hopefully.
Yeah, I like how you sort of brought up Polkadot in relation, Kusama in relation to Polkadot. And so, just to kind of dive into that a little bit more, Kusama is often referred to as Polkadot's wild cousin. And people often ask the question like, well, is it a testnet? And I'll answer that question very clearly. It isn't a testnet. And that's because a testnet, by definition, doesn't have real economic value behind it. And so what that means is that a lot of the crypto economic security guarantees that are relied upon to make these governance mechanisms work, they just can't really express themselves in a true testnet environment. You need real value behind it. And so Kusama is a place where there is real value, but sort of the collective consciousness is one of experimentation as opposed to stability. Alex and Shaban, I mean, Alex, I know you in particular come from like a more of a enterprise software world like myself, where maybe like you would be more accustomed to the Polkadot way of doing things as opposed to the Kusama way of doing things. What has that experience been like for you?
Well, it's too early to tell, but indeed that kind of atmosphere is there. And that is how the communities are being built. The code base is the same, except that Kusama starts getting new things earlier. But I think that as time goes by, this spirit that for Kusama is experimental and innovative will make it grow in one direction, and Polkadot being stable and reliable will take it into another direction. So yeah, they're cousins, but 10 years from now, I think they're going to look very different.
Awesome. Shaban, you in particular have a lot of experience with NFTs on different types of chains, as you said, going all the way back to Bitcoin. What has the experience developing for the Kusama Network and the Polkadot ecosystem been like for you? You are muted.
It's a very a deep question, because if you look at technologies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, there is a technical layer, but there is also something else. There is a governance layer, a belief layer, and people are building on those chains not only because of the technical things that it brings, but also the whole governance around the chain. Some people like Bitcoin because it's more secure, but it's expensive. Some other will propose another chain which is cheaper and faster. So the experience of producing art on different chain, you're addressing a different kind of public. There are people who love this and who hate that. And when you envision creating art, posting art on a specific chain, you need to think not only technically, but also what is the mindset around everything we're building. What's interesting in Kusama, and I think that's a key value for us, is we believe all this governance system they will be different, and people will opt in for different technologies. And Polkadot Kusama allow a lot of innovation. So anybody could potentially come with their own chain or their own governance system and create their own tool. So building for Kusama is not only building for one thing, but it's potentially building for a lot and many different groups of interest, of value, of beliefs, tokenizing their art and their creation.
I really liked the term that you used, belief layer. That's a very evocative term, and I think it's really it speaks to kind of what we do at Parity. We take a very layered approach to building things, but it is in some ways opinionated in a way that allows other people to express their opinion. So this idea of belief is being kind of like the engine that drives everything is really important. Yeah, thank you for that. Alex, as you mentioned, you are the technical lead for this art gallery initiative that we're building on Kusama. And so thinking about like what is the collective mind that we're serving, as Shaban talked about, how are you taking kind of a creator first approach to imagining this art gallery and the capabilities that it could provide?
Well, the capabilities is something that comes from Kusama, basically. The main job of NFTs is to embed the protection of digital art in its core with tokenization. So that's the sole function of the blockchain in the that's at the core. That's what you do with tokenization. So once you do that, basically you then look around the capabilities that the blockchain you build it on kind of has. And what Kusama brings on board is some very powerful and flexible governance, first of all, so that you can play with the models that the NFT can have in its lifetime. It's not set at the beginning. That's another kind of important feature, which is extendability and upgradability. So, which means that you can basically change the approach, change things, what you set initially, and do many things that you cannot do in most of the other blockchains this way. So, but it is done still in a trustless way through governance that I mentioned first. Now, all of these kind of capabilities will be in the art gallery project should be serving the creators and their needs. That's the kind of the idea behind it. Art is an expressive form. It is not a creation of goods and services where, buyers are always right and things like that. Here, creator is always right. And the art is supposed to reflect emotions on the viewer, on the consumer, and that is only possible with artistic intent, I guess. So, so basically, the art gallery will be made for artists to protect their work and to enable them to express really themselves, but also to express ever-growing creativity. This is something that's very important to me personally, because what I want to have is the depth of capabilities that Kusama has can really lead to some very innovative forms of digital art themselves and enable them to be born and created and to live and be successful, hopefully. So we'll do the basics on all of that stuff, but then what we also expect is and hope for that lots of others will build on top of that. This code we'll do is going to be, of course, open source, And then anybody can take that and build upon that to create their own version of a gallery, their own version of art marketplaces, and et cetera, et cetera. So we hope to spark with this an ecosystem that kind of thrives in the future. What we will have for sure in the art gallery are kind of coverage of basic interactions, which is mainly with the creators. So this is first to create NFTs and to connect digital art to it, and to, of course, display, exhibit that art in some fashion. There will be options for viewers to appreciate and remark that art. Creators will be able, of course, to sell art. That's what galleries are for. But then we'll also have some sponsors for art. Art patrons have been around for centuries, and we will believe digital art deserves them as well. So we'll kind of try to incorporate them as well. And well, finally, one of the final interaction is a bad one is reporting kind of art that does not fit the gallery, which is supposed to be, which is stolen art and other things that are not supposed to be legal. So with those kind of main interactions is what we are, what we will be working in mind with for the first version of the art gallery. One thing to note, important one is that Kusama itself will be a very minimal kind of, will have very minimal capabilities. I'll kind of come to that maybe later, but its NFT capabilities will be very minimalistic to ensure that Kusama itself kind of does its main job well. And the main kind of creative, it is designed, it will be built for this particular use case, kind of very focused on that.
That's awesome. I liked your kind of, touching on what does it mean for art to be on the blockchain and what are the possibilities. You started kind of diving into that, and we have a question from the audience along those lines, which I'm really loving that we have a little interaction. Jam, I see you coming unmuted, which is great because I definitely actually want to hear your thoughts in particular on this question. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. What are your thoughts on NFT and art for inclusion for minority group artists with low income? Is there any strategy that you have seen implemented around the globe?
Yeah, actually.
Jam, you want to kick off some thoughts with that?
Yeah, I think we should go around and
sure.
I'll chime in. But like I'll start from like where my personal experience was. I'm not sure if people can see my bio in my like profile on this platform, but like I briefly mentioned that like where I joined the crypto space, right, was like I was making avatars for players of a video game, or like skins and stuff. And I couldn't like monetize that. I couldn't like earn a living doing that. I was really young though, so that was probably because of legal reasons. But like what crypto enabled is like, oh, you can do it peer-to-peer and directly with other people. But I feel like NFT marketplaces also will let people do things like have a regular base of patrons, like Alex was mentioning, or have like a sustainable income with their creative work and their craft. And that's like something that really gets me excited about like creative work on blockchain.
Yeah, I will add, if you look at traditional art, if you're creating something and you want to earn a little bit out of it, it's super hard because you need to find a gallery, you need to get credibility, you have to go out. But with blockchain and NFT, anybody could put their art there, get a market, get some fans. And this is very interesting because it opens on before art is more for a small elite who can really enter, but with blockchain it really opens up to a wider public where they're super young or minority or low income can really be known thanks to internet.
Okay, and yeah, I actually there is one project that really sparked my mind, and it's exactly kind of something that audience here is asking about. It's called interactive NFTs artwork. I've asked the organizers to share the link here, but you can just Google interactive NFTs, and it's a very nice project where artists are basically designed the art application on blockchain that with NFTs that is designed to help two African American kids realize their dreams. It's something they are about 7 years old, so every kind of birthday they are kind of accepting donations, and kind of they have put around some interesting interesting stories, some animation, and so on. If you can please organize or share this with the users, just read about it. It's a very interesting project, and kinds of things that I'm looking for with NFTs and blockchain in particular to support.
I'm sure many people troll Twitter a lot, and one of the things that I came across was a really awesome, inspiring video of this person, Ferocious, an artist on the blockchain. It's like Ferocious with the W. And it was a video of them just being super excited about selling their first piece of artwork. And it was like so inspiring. And yeah, I'm really hoping that we can help capture a little bit of that magic with what we're doing here on Kusama. And kind of speaking of this ability to help people actualize their dreams, Siobhan, you received, I think, as we mentioned, like a grant or a bounty or a funding through the Kusama Treasury. Can you talk to us a little bit about what exactly, maybe a quick introduction into what the Kusama Treasury is from your point of view, and then a little bit about the experience of receiving funding, and maybe do you have tips for other people who may want to do a similar thing?
So, talking about inclusion, this is something very interesting because we are moving in a newer economic world, where you could have projects, you could have ideas, and those ideas are submitted to a group of people, a group of interest. And in our case, we submitted the idea for NFT on Kusama to Kusama Treasury, which is a decentralized treasury, where people actually who are part of Kusama vote and accept the project, and then the money is unlocked automatically to the creator. So it allows us, not only us, but anybody who has idea, who has project, to co-build the product. So Kusama is not just a company who brought something, it's co-built by a lot of different actors like us, where we proposed ideas and projects to develop art, NFT on Kusama, and then this gets accepted by the protocol, I would say. And this is very new. Of course, they're funding for a lot of stuff for a long time, but here Kusama is not like just one company. It's a group of people of interest. And I encourage everybody to really approach that, bring their idea, because Kusama belongs to everyone. So everyone who has an idea can go there and say, hey, we could improve the life of people, or we could improve this and that, and submit the project to the treasury. So in terms of experience, I would say it's not that super easy to submit a project, but I think it worth the effort, because the fact that it's decentralized also takes a little bit more time, decision time, but I think in the end it's for the greater good, because more people, more brains will produce in the end something better or make better decision than few experts, I would say. So yeah, very good experience, and I invite anybody who has creativity, who has idea, to really engage with Kusama.
Yeah, I really am actually, I find the level of scrutiny to which projects are held to be very refreshing. I think it, it's a very careful balance between excellence and innovation. Jan, you're really involved in kind of making these decisions as part of the council. Do you want to talk a little bit about the evaluation process, how these submissions are evaluated?
Right. So I am quite involved, but I would say that I take I intentionally take a specific stance in like evaluating treasury proposals, where I go out, I find projects that are doing cool stuff, I tell them to apply, I help them through the process. But in terms of diligence and filtering out projects and stuff like that, I don't want to do that, because I want more projects to apply, right? But the process is generally like, you talk about it with somebody, you make the proposal on a platform where people can read your proposal, like something called PolkAssembly or Commonwealth, or you can just put it up on a Google Doc or a HackMD or something and share the link. Then we talk about it, and if you think that if you think that the proposal is going to pass, once it's given to the treasury, you make the proposal on chain and people vote on it and it passes, and then you get your funding. Different people on the council, different decision makers, have widely different strategies on like what they want from a proposal, right?
Yes, and therein lies some of where things can get a little slow sometimes. But I think that's also where a good balance emerges. So kind of the last question that I have would be for you, Alex. One of the things that we've talked about a little bit is the Polkadot protocol. Shaban mentioned that interoperability and extensibility is a really important part of that. And that's achieved through this concept of parachains. And you are building a parachain. Can you talk a little bit about what an NFT parachain could mean for an ecosystem like Kusama? You're muted still.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned before, we built the NFT chain for Kusama. It's called Unique Network. We have a live testnet today, and people are actually playing with it. So if you're interested, we have a CryptoPunks game we kind of created as a tribute to CryptoPunks, one of the early crypto games built on Ethereum. And so you can play around with it. It is the process of building that was a kind of real pleasure. We built bigger part of it as part of the Hakusama, which was the hackathon that happened earlier this summer. And the power that kind of the software behind Kusama, it's called Substrate, has for NFT cases is just awesome. So as I mentioned, in Kusama itself, the NFTs are supposed to be minimalistic, but in a parachain Unique, they're going to be very maximalistic, so to say. So it can do a lot of things. Some of them are impossible to do on other technologies. So like it has embedded economic sponsorship, so we can create freemium games, for example. Things like that, some things that are impossible to do in other blockchains. Now its kind of mission is to help others to create NFT-based solutions. Well, for me, what's important is to make them for real-world problems, from anything from powerful art creations, like in AR, VR space, to games that appeal and are played by millions of users. You cannot have that in kind of most blockchains. Here you can. To real estate ledgers, for example, or DeFi solutions. So what I would like to do, that Unique kind of accomplishes, is to have NFTs really bring to the real world some solutions to the real problems, not just to experiment with things forever, but to have them grounded. So that's kind of what parachains are supposed to do, in my view.
Yep. So we're kind of at the end here, but I just want to give you know, a little bit of final color to that, and give people a chance to add some final thoughts. So the art gallery that we're talking about building is going to be part of this kind of central chain Kusama built directly on top of it, whereas Alex and the Unique Network are building more on a platform that provides more feature-rich capabilities. Any Jam, and want to share any parting thoughts on kind of what it means to build NFTs directly at the Kusama Network layer?
Right. So I think my thought on this is that building something at layer 0, or like on the relay chain on Kusama, lets you build things that can be interacted from the entire, can interact with and be interacted by the entire ecosystem. But yeah, it's a trade-off. Like if you have things on Unique, then like you can do a lot of things, and you can also interact with the entire ecosystem through Kusama. But
yeah, no worries. Cool. All right. Well, any other parting thoughts that anyone wants to share? I think we're already a little over. So with that, I'm just going to say one more time, thank you so much to Jessica Angel and the Art Project 2020 Expo presenter, the Vancouver Biennale. And yeah, thank you very much, guys. Wonderful talking to y'all.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.